Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, a program that's helping producers meet consumer demand for safe, wholesome beef. Plus, cattlemen give their thoughts on the country's shrinking cow herd.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. Topping this week's cattle industry news, NCBA is urging lawmakers to waive the federal mandate on ethanol in light of the severe drought, hoping it will ease the demand on the short corn supply. Currently, under the Renewable Fuel Standard requirements, 13.2 billion gallons of corn-based ethanol must be produced in 2012 and 13.8 billion gallons in 2013. That equals about 40% of the nation's entire corn crop. And with a severe drought, it's estimated that only 10.8 billion bushels will be harvested this year. NCBA Vice President of Government Affairs, Colin Woodall, says cattlemen should be able to compete on a level playing field for a bushel of corn without federal mandates.
As we look at the ethanol mandate and the concerns this drought has on what this new crop corn is actually going to look like, we have joined with several other livestock groups to file a petition at EPA asking for a waiver for a portion of the RFS in order to try to ensure that we have availability of corn and hopefully take a little pressure off the corn market. One of the things that we really like to remind people is that NCBA is not against ethanol. We have a lot of members who are engaged in ethanol, and we support that. The one concern that we do have is government support for ethanol. And we have worked to remove some of those support mechanisms, but we still have the mandate that's dictating how much ethanol should be blended. And that is having an impact on the marketplace. All we're asking is that ethanol stand on the free market just like the cattle industry does.
More than 180 members of Congress, as well as 8 governors, have joined the coalition and expressed their support for waiving the Renewable Fuel Standard mandate. High corn prices are just one of the harsh realities of the drought for cattlemen, and there are many challenges that go far beyond that. Here in the studio to talk about some financial assistance for people struggling with the drought is Stacy Lausenheiser, Loan Officer for Farm Credit of Southern Colorado. Stacy, thanks for coming to the show.
Happy to be here, Kevin.
Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about the recommendations you're providing to people to get through this drought.
I think the key thing for producers to remember, especially during these times of stress and drought, is that this really gives us an opportunity to sharpen our pencils and figure out where the efficiencies that can be gained in those operations are. A lot of folks are struggling trying to find enough forage to carry through with their normal business plans. And so right now they're thinking about maybe weaning early or pulling some stockers off of their pasture a little sooner than they would normally. I think it's important to really understand what the implications of those decisions are. Sharpen your pencils, figure out what your costs and your benefits are, and then make a decision that's going to be the best for your operation in order to carry it forward.
You've got a lot of customers who are smack dab in the middle of this droughted area. What is Farm Credit doing to help its customers through this time?
Farm Credit is an institution that provides credit and other related services to agriculture in rural America. We offer support that has really proven valuable to our customers over almost a century, through good times and bad. We're here today. We can provide financing to help carry you through a situation if you might need to buy some feed or look at some new opportunities in your business. And we'll be here tomorrow when you're ready to start restocking your pastures. The other thing to keep in mind is we are an agricultural financing institution. We understand agriculture and the unique challenges it faces. And we really like to focus on leveraging our directors and our employees to help you work through those new ideas and innovative solutions you're going to have to try and get through this drought.
Stacy, would you recommend to our viewers that they seek out any particular resources? What other resources might be available to them?
One of the things I mentioned is really sharpen your pencil and figure out what your best course of action is going to be. There's always going to be trade-offs. There's resources available through your local extension services, budgeting and cost-benefit analysis calculators that can really help you put a pencil to what's it going to cost me to hold this cow for another year, or what's it going to bring me in if I try and hold these cattle on and put a few more pounds on them based on what my cost of feeds are, cost of gains are, and what the projected markets are going to be at the end. So use those tools and really sharpen your pencil. If we can find a way to get through this situation, I think there's some great opportunities ahead for those in the cow business.
I would agree. And as we look back and reflect on what we're experiencing right now, what are some of the key learnings? What can we learn from this experience?
The key things to take away from this experience are going to be that that the efficient producers are going to survive. If you can really cut your costs and control your outflows, then there's really some opportunities here. If you can hold that cow herd together for another year until it starts raining, this is going to be a pretty exciting time in agriculture. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming to the show, and thank you for all you're doing for producers all across southern Colorado to help them through this difficult time.
Thank you, Kevin.
To learn more about the assistance available through Farm Credit, please log on to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. The shrinking cow herd has been a hot topic of conversation for many years, and now, of course, the drought isn't making the problem any easier. We recently had the chance to talk to a few cattlemen and get their perspectives on this shrinking cow herd.
Very concerned. You know, we've been needing to build that cow herd, you know, because our numbers are so low nationally that this drought is not going to help that at all. And it's a widespread drought. You know, most of the West is in the drought, and in the East too, actually. So it's going to be bad for the cattle industry.
But as far as a feed yard operator, our ability to source and acquire cattle to put in the feed yard and our customer interest in putting cattle in the feed yard, it's very difficult to find the cattle. And the customer interest in putting cattle in the feed yard, it's very hard to convince them to do that when feeder cattle prices have been so high as compared to the fat cattle prices.
It's going to be very difficult to maintain the size of the cow herd. Ultimately, that does lead to a reduced supply. That means we're not able to export as much. We're not able to meet domestic demand as much as we'd like. The per capita consumption is going down. That's a little bit different, I guess, in demand. But it is going to be a challenge to maintain our market share.
We don't want to get the situation where we don't have enough volume of beef out there in the industry or in the world so that people back away because it becomes such a high-priced item that they don't feel they can eat it every day. That's the real concern I have as a beef producer.
According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, this is estimated to be the smallest U.S. cow herd since 1952. Do you like sharing your farming or ranching story? The U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance is looking for 5 people to be the new faces of agriculture. The U.S. FRA is comprised of agricultural members like the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the National Pork Producers Council, and the American Sugar Alliance. The Faces of Farming and Ranching campaign is seeking up to 5 farmers and ranchers to tell their story to consumers. Those selected will also receive a $10,000 stipend for participating.
You know, consumers across our country have a lot of questions about food right now. They want to know where their food comes from, how it reaches their plate. And as a farmer and rancher, we are able to use this new campaign from USFRA to reach those consumers.
To learn more about the Faces of Farming and Ranching campaign from the U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance, visit us online at cattlemantocattleman.org. But you'll want to hurry. The deadline for submissions is September 8th. Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
This program allows operators to ensure that they do everything they can to help the sustainability and profitability of their operation.
A Farm to Fork assurance program that ensures consumers get a top quality product. Plus, how cattle, crops, and hard work are driving the success of one Illinois operation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman on RFD TV.
I'm an NCBA member.
I'm an NCBA member because I think as an advocacy group, NCBA has done some great things for our industry, and I kind of feel compelled to give back some of what they've done for us.
I'm an NCBA member because it's an organization that stands up for the industry that I love and will allow my family to continue to be a part of this great industry.
Because this organization is looking out for cattle producers.
I'm an NCBA member because NCBA doesn't pick and choose what issues it works on. It works on every issue, every day, on behalf of all the cattlemen across the country.
They understand what makes our cow-calf business profitable.
Join me and thousands of other cattlemen across the country.
Join me today.
Join me today.
Join NCBA today and receive a new member gift while supplies last. Head to beefusa.org and enter the promo code C2C or call 866-USA-BEEF and mention C2C.
I'm looking forward to having Vista Once back. We weren't able to find an equivalent product.
I think our practice will be very quick to adopt Vista when it comes back.
All of my veterinary colleagues have all talked about the product coming back.
We're glad to have Vista back in the product line.
Cattlemen that we work with will be glad to have the product.
We have a lot of producers. They're excited about it coming back.
Yeah, can I recommend Vista Once? Yeah, that's going to go right back in the cooler, and it goes right back in the calves.
It's time to wrap up your savings on John Deere hay tools. With big bonus cash or special financing on our high-quality lineup of mower conditioners, balers, and select hay tools. Or if you have a utility tractor in mind, take advantage of great deals available now on rugged 5 Series and 6 Series tractors. Roll on in and wrap up your savings. Like summer, these deals won't last, so hurry in today.
Welcome back. Providing safe, wholesome, and nutritious beef is the goal of all cattlemen. And now, more than ever, consumers want more information about the practices behind the beef they feed to their families. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Matt Fleck visits Larned, Kansas, where Ward Feed Yard is participating in a farmed fork assurance program called Progressive Beef that helps them meet that consumer demand.
Progressive Beef is a comprehensive quality control program, food safety, animal health, and sustainability. Those are the overarching goals that we're trying to accomplish and ensure. On the ground, it's a way for us to measure daily what we're doing and what exactly the steps are that we need to ensure that we're doing properly in order to deliver a quality product.
We're proud of the way we produce beef here at Ward Feed Yard. And Progressive Beef is a program that verifies the documentation of that process of how we produce that good beef.
Ward Feed Yard saw an opportunity to improve the value of their beef while building improved consumer trust. After becoming certified in the Progressive Beef program from Pfizer Animal Health, Ward Feed Yard has developed a quality product that everyone on the operation is proud to stand behind.
The 3 biggest benefits of Progressive Beef would be, first and foremost, that the operation is doing all they can to ensure there's a safe and wholesome product on the plate of consumers. Secondly, it offers employees in the feed yard the opportunity to truly understand how what they do matters, and everything that they have in their role impacts the output and the safety of our food supply. And finally, the Progressive Beef program potentially offers opportunities for producers to market their cattle and differentiate themselves in today's marketplace.
Consumers want a safe, wholesome product on their table. We feel that consumer just expects to have a product that's safe, that it was produced humanely, and part of Progressive Beef is animal welfare and animal handling procedures that we take here at Ward Feed Yard.
Historically, food safety has been thought of as a packer or a retail issue to be dealt with, but this program allows operators to ensure that they do everything they can to help sustainability and profitability of their operation.
By having Progressive Beef, it allows us to recheck ourselves. It gives you kind of a standard, that's how I would say it. We can always have something to fall back on and look at and see if we're doing our job.
We've got passionate people that are passionate about producing good beef. They care a lot about their job, they care a lot about the animals, and they care a lot about the product they produce.
Progressive Beef is a farm-to-fork assurance program designed to meet consumer demand for safe, wholesome beef. Chris and his team at Ward Feed Yard wanted to provide a better product to consumers. The Progressive Beef program offered a comprehensive way to accomplish their goals.
We think it's an important program to our operation, not only to the efficiency of our operation, but also it just allows us to help verify and document that we do produce a safe, wholesome, nutritious product that goes to the consumer.
The Progressive Beef program encompasses all areas of the feed yard, including cattle health, feed manufacturing, feed delivery. The program gives the operator of the feed yard the peace of mind that what he is expecting to happen is actually happening on the feed yard.
Progressive Beef allows feedlots to record and track best practices currently in place on the operation through a tailored set of standard operating procedures, or SOPs. In order to meet Progressive Beef requirements, the SOPs also allow operations to implement practices that are not currently in place.
The standing operating procedures were developed by producers in conjunction with experts in the field, such as veterinarians and animal welfare specialists. The SOPs themselves are customizable depending on the feed yard. However, the standard that they're tied to does not change.
Heather Donnelly, Director of Quality Assurance for the Beef Marketing Group, says the program is intended to complement existing beef quality assurance practices at feed yards.
The main goals for developing the SOPs were really to provide a foundation or a base for our production practices and what we do, and to focus on the areas of food safety, animal welfare, and sustainability. And most of the time, once we get into a feed yard and conduct the risk assessment, we realize they may be doing some of this stuff already and have some of the records, but there may be holes or missing pieces, and we help fill in those with the Progressive Beef program and just make everything one continuous circle that everything flows together.
We'll have more about the Progressive Beef program from Pfizer Animal Health when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To advance the traits that are important to your cow-calf operation, why settle for Angus bulls and females that come with less information when you can have more? Compared with genomic-enhanced EPDs powered by HD50K, no other genomic test provides you with more dependable data on calving ease, growth, and other important traits to accelerate the goals of your operation. For more informed purchase decisions and faster genetic progress, one genomic test outshines the rest.
NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman is your source for industry updates that impact your operation.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is continuing its fight against the so-called death tax.
Hear from congressional members on important issues. Learn about the best practices for beef quality assurance and visit operations from around the country. All in 1 hour. NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern on RFD TV.
It's the official monthly publication of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The National Cattleman is produced exclusively for NCBA members and includes coverage of the news and events affecting our industry. From Capitol Hill to the far side of cattle country, the National Cattleman provides information NCBA members need. Every issue includes market analysis, feature stories, and practical management tips. Start receiving your copy of the National Cattleman. Call 866-USA-BEEF or go online to beefusa.org and join today.
Welcome back. Let's return to reporter Matt Fleck, who's learning more about a farm-to-fork assurance program that's helping producers meet consumer demand.
Progressive Beef is worthwhile, and we think it adds value for the customer. Basically, it's not changing your practices that you do, it's just documenting and verifying that every procedure and every standard operating procedure happens every day.
The biggest benefit I've seen with Progressive Beef is the records. By having the maintenance records, we can keep everything running smoothly so we have no interruptions.
Keeping everything running smoothly also means bringing new employees up to speed with the Progressive Beef standards.
But also Progressive Beef helps us in training our employees to do these practices. When we get a new employee, they may or may not have an ag background, a feedlot background. So standard operating procedures just tell us step by step how to process an animal that goes through the chute, how to doctor an animal that goes through the chute, how to feed it, how to batch the feed.
The staff that are responsible for a particular operation, they become very well acquainted with what the steps are in that process, and they learn what they need to measure And they take measurements and record those in logs every day, and we're able to look back and see how well we're doing.
Keeping records of daily operations are only part of the picture. Third-party auditors ensure the feed yard is living up to the standards of the Progressive Beef Program.
We do internal audit annually, then we also have an external audit annually as well. And so we have a third party that comes in, helps us evaluate and make sure that it is verified that we are producing beef the way we say we're producing it.
The third-party verification of the program is really key and a unique feature in that we have someone that is not affiliated with the organization or the feed yards coming in and really verifying that we are doing what we say we are doing and making sure that that feed yard is meeting the Progressive Beef standard. I think it's really important for cattle operations to consider what animal welfare programs that they have, because today, more than ever, consumers and people that are not affiliated with what we do, they want to know what's happening here and that the cattle are being well cared for.
In addition to the cattle welfare improvements, Chris Burris says the program became an easy way for him to make his product stand out to consumers.
Progressive Beef is an easy program to adopt. One of the biggest reasons we joined the Progressive Beef program is that we feel that we can provide a product that's differentiated from regular commodity beef, and hopefully consumer will recognize that and pay more for that product.
There's a big added value because we're able to show what actual production practices are being done here and what their tie is to the end result.
Ward Feed Yard relies on the Progressive Beef Program, as well as the passion of their employees, to ensure the beef they are producing is safe, wholesome, and nutritious.
It's very important to have everybody on the whole Ward Feed Yard team part of the Progressive Beef Program. Everybody believes, and not only believes, but they're passionate about the Progressive Beef Program. If somebody doesn't believe in a program, it's not going to work. And this is a place where folks are passionate enough about producing a safe, wholesome product that they understand that Progressive Beef is a program that helps them accomplish that.
Reporting from Larned, Kansas, I'm Matt Fleck for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
If you'd like to learn more about the Progressive Beef Program, head to cattlemantocattleman.org, visit Pfizer Animal Health online at pfizerah.com, or you can contact your local Pfizer Animal Health representative. We'll be right back.
Quality matters to me because I put the finishing touches on the cattle I feed. I search for the highest quality forages and provide a comfortable environment that allow the animals to thrive and grow. I'm the last person that has an impact on the quality and consistency of the product that goes to the consumer. And that matters to me and the crew that I manage. I'm proud of what we'll do here today.
Wrap up your fall projects with the value and performance of a versatile 5D or 5E series utility tractor. For a limited time, get 0% financing for 60 months, plus $1,500 cash off with the purchase of 2 implements. Working a large acreage, small farm, or ranch, the 5D will tackle all your seasonal chores. Tougher chores? Power up with a new 5E. Either way, you save. But don't wait. As the season ends, so does this offer.
To stay up to date on beef industry news and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, check out beefusa.org. You'll find news on both the Federation of State Beef Councils and the work of NCBA on Capitol Hill. Plus, link to NCBA programs like the blog, Beltway Beef, updates on the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and the latest from NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Connect today at beefusa.org.
Welcome back. Taking care of the land is a way of life for many cattlemen and women across the country. But some go above and beyond to preserve it for future generations to enjoy. Funk Farms Trust is this year's Region 3 winner of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Reporter Scott Hoke has more from Shirley, Illinois.
The agricultural roots run deep on the Funk Farms Trust, located on the rolling prairie land of central Illinois. With a rich history dating back to 1824, Funk Farms is where hybrid seed corn was developed and has been home to both crops and cattle since it was founded more than 185 years ago.
Very long time. They used to drive cattle from here back to Pennsylvania, points east, and this was prior to Chicago being a major terminal livestock facility. And then once Chicago got started, they drove cattle and hogs 150 miles from here north.
Since 1970, Dan Coons has managed this diverse operation that grows corn, soybeans, and hay, grazes stocker cattle, and finishes cattle in a monoslope covered feeding facility.
We've got about 2,500 acres of ground here that we operate, 250 to 275 acres of grass that we run stocker cattle on. Also have a feed lot, a one-time capacity of 1,500 head. And majority of it is custom fed. However, our stocker cattle that we run during the summer, we feed those out ourselves.
This part of Illinois is probably one of the better spots to raise cattle. We've got an abundance of grass, corn, soybeans, especially for the feedlot operation.
We have used the livestock operation in conjunction with the cropping enterprise so that we pick up from the various synergies. One accentuates the other. We're able to utilize everything that we produce on the farm.
On Funk Farms, cattle and crops work together to create a healthy environment. Corn and soybeans provide feed and bedding for cattle, and the manure from the monoslope feeding barn is used to fertilize the next year's crops.
In the last 6-8 years, we have started composting that manure, and we've set aside roughly 10 acres of ground here that is our compost site. So we bring that manure out of the facility, put it in windrows, compost it, so it reduces the volume of material by about 50%. And that's been a big help. We put those nutrients back on the soil. We do sell a little of it to some neighbors and people that want to put it on their garden and so forth.
The monoslope barn provides a quality year-round environment for the cattle while eliminating any runoff. With 3 streams crossing Funk Farms, preserving water quality is a top priority. Each stream is protected by wide grass setbacks, keeping cropland far from the water's edge.
You know, the terraces and the grass waterways and the field borders and all that slows the water and really reduces the erosion.
Anytime that we can slow the water down off of our cropland, we can reduce the sediment load, we can reduce the nutrient load in those filter strips. The filter strip then utilizes that fertilizer, and therefore we're not having to fertilize our filter strips as much. It keeps it on the farm where we want it to stay.
To save soil, the team at Funk Farms also uses no-till and minimum-till cropping systems, and they use management-intensive grazing to help the grass and cattle thrive.
We're standing in a pasture right now. I've got 85 head running on management-intensive grazing. I've got 9 cells, 8 if you don't include the creek that is fenced out. I've got a creek running through the whole pasture. It's 100% fenced out. We flash graze the creek as needed, 24, 48 hour grazing across it.
They've implemented the rotational prescribed grazing system on their acreage and installed water lines and new fences to help make that come to pass and work better.
Funk Farms hosts groups and visitors interested in learning about the Funk family history, as well as how a modern, innovative Illinois crop and cattle farm operates.
The Funk family has always done that. We've always hosted tours and events, educational events for school kids and so forth. Have just always felt it's important to tell the story of agriculture.
Whether hosting visitors, tending the cattle, or protecting natural resources, the Funk Farms team takes pride in caring for the land every day.
Stewardship means to me the ability to maintain sustainably the ground that we work with,
We have been very conscious of that, and the Funk family has always been very conscious of the conservation of the land. They've been here a long time and see it as their duty to preserve it. I really feel proud of the fact that with this operation, we're doing just about all we can do to help the environment and the stewardship of the whole industry.
Dan and Kathy Coons are members of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, and there's never been a better time for you to join them as an NCBA member. If you join right now, you'll receive a free 100 milliliter bottle of Dectomax injectable from Pfizer Animal Health. And if you join NCBA as well as your state association, you'll receive a 200 milliliter bottle of Dectomax injectable. But you must join both at the same time to get in on this limited time offer. Joining is easy. Just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or email us at c2c@beef.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I am an NCBA member.
I am an NCBA member.
I'm an NCBA member because our nation's capital is a long way from home and my cattle operation. I pay my dues to keep a staff here in DC working on behalf of the industry and working on my behalf every day on all the issues.
NCBA doesn't pick and choose what issues it works on. It works on every issue, every day, on behalf of all the cattlemen across the country.
NCBA membership is important because there are policymakers and regulatory agencies making decisions that affect your operation every day.
Join me and thousands of other cattlemen across the country.
We are better together than we are alone.
Your support is needed.
We are NCBA membership. Join us today.
Join NCBA today and receive a new member gift while supplies last. Head to beefusa.org and enter the promo code C2C or call 866-USA-BEEF and mention C2C.
There's something wrong. His head is down. He's clearly stressed. He's worried sick about BRD. That's why there's prescription Zactran for BRD treatment and control in high-risk cattle. Get a rapid response plus 10-day treatment and control in a single dose, so you can stop worrying and get back to business. For use in cattle only, do not treat cattle within 35 days of slaughter. Because a discard time in milk has not been established, do not use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older or in calves to be processed for veal. The effects of Zactran on bovine reproductive performance, pregnancy, and lactation have not been determined. Don't worry yourself sick. Talk to your veterinarian about a real alternative for BRD treatment and control. Because it's critical, it's Zactran from Mariel, a leading animal health company.
Welcome back. The current historic drought is causing cattlemen to scramble to find water, feed, and other essentials for their herds. But some ranchers are finding a sustained nutrition program is helping relieve some of the uncertainties brought on by this crisis. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brad Bulla has more from West Texas.
We're one of the oldest registered Angus breeders there are in the country. Certainly not the oldest, but one of them. And this unique environment creates interesting cattle, makes you have very environmental friendly cattle or they won't survive here. And this year certainly been proof of that. We've been a very disciplined breeder. We always just keep what we think is a very top end cattle. Just very disciplined of what we do. Any females that were open or no longer on the premises.
One of the most unique things about Bradley 3 Ranch is that they are a purebred operation that is developed their cattle on range conditions, not in smaller pastures, which is typical to purebred operations east of here. But the cattle are actually out in the pastures, and it's more of a challenge to run a purebred operation in this type of situation because your forage is constantly changing, and so we're typically battling that the quality of the forage and the quantity of the forage and the time of the year. Rainfall is also extremely important to this part of the world because we don't get very much of it.
When it comes to rainfall, the Bradley 3 Ranch, like much of Texas, is finding itself in uncharted territory. The intensity of the drought has caught many ranchers by surprise, even those who endured the drought of the 1950s.
Actually, this is lots worse because we've had such extreme temperatures to go with it. We actually had 99 days of straight over 100, and that 100 was from 10 to 15, 110 to 115. With a couple, 3 days in there to 122 to 123. 1956 is the driest year in history for Childress County, but we still got 10.5 inches. Today we're into our 10th month and we've had 2.4 inches. And our calves were born and weaned without their backs ever getting wet.
Despite the severe drought, the Bradley's cattle are in good shape. Mary Lou and her husband James have been using Purina's Sustained Nutrition program for some time, including the AccuRation and Superlix products. And the head start it gave their animals during the good weather is paying off now during the drought.
One of the things that the Sustained Nutrition program, especially here on the Bradley ranches, is enabling these cattle to be able to consume these product, the Superlix product, in a fashion where we can continue to keep her in good body condition, milking for that calf, even in times where we don't have really good forage. And the benefits of that is getting her bred earlier, and that the earlier a calf is born, the heavier it's going to weigh when we wean, even if we have to early wean like we've had this year.
Purina's been a really good partner for a number of years for us, and without that, I know that this year would be almost impossible because our cows we've had on the Purina Superlix program. We keep that out 365 days a year. Those cows have stayed in really good body condition even though we've had no moisture. They've been able to adjust and adapt to forage that's poor quality. We're starting to calve now, and these calves are very vigorous. They're hitting the ground, jumping up, nursing, doing really well, and so we're pleased with the amount of heat stress that the cows went through this summer and the type of forage. That's been really, really good.
Basically, we have more cows that are breeding back in the first 21 days, and the cows are actually lactating more as well. So we're getting a double punch from those cows from a nutritional standpoint, where not only are they breeding back early, but they're lactating more, so we're getting an increase in weaning weights anywhere from 40 to 60 pounds on those calves.
Some of the things that we've done here on the ranch to sustain ourselves through this drought is historically we don't feed much hay on the ranch, but we've had to this year in some different instances with our first calf heifers, and we've also implemented the AccuRation program into our first calf heifer program this year to improve some body score conditions prior to calving, and this program has worked very well for us.
We'll have more on Purina's Sustained Nutrition programs when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
No storm is too powerful for new Purina Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, formulated with ultimate weather resistance. That means more minerals in the feeder and available to your cattle. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals provide more consistent intake and balanced mineral nutrition to optimize herd health and breedback rates. See the difference at your local Purina dealer or visit cattlenutrition.com. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, another way Purina is building better cattle.
Hi there, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rory, and welcome to our farm outside Nashville, Tennessee. When we go to work, whether it's on tour or here at home, we wear the West.
That's right. Whether it's that perfect snap shirt or that perfect pair of boots, when you wear Roper, you wear the West.
Learn more about us, Joey and Rory, and about Roper Western Wear at eroper.com.
Telling the truth and being real, feeding my family a home-cooked meal, that's important to me. That's important to me. And planting the garden and watching it grow.
Welcome back. Let's return to reporter Brad Bulla, who's learning how one West Texas operation is coping with the historic drought.
Along with keeping up overall body condition scores, Purina's SuperLix product also helps with cattle management and labor costs.
So with the Sustained Nutrition Program and the SuperLix product, we actually have better forage utilization throughout the pasture. What we've seen is we get better grazing distribution throughout these larger pastures in West Texas, and also we get grazing in areas where cattle normally won't graze on a cube program or a more conventional supplementation program. Basically, this has allowed ranchers to actually, instead of having to go out and feed all day, every day throughout the week, trying to get around to their cattle, this actually allows a guy to go out once a week, put supplement out, and know that those cattle have supplement, again, 24/7, and when the cattle need it, it's there for them to consume.
Liquid feed allows us to put feed out, and we're not having to be with the cows every day, certainly not driving the truck or burning the fuel, so that's reduced our costs. Right now, with an employee sick, the labor issues are very important issue for us, so it's allowing us to take care of our cattle and not physically be with them every day.
And now we're really sold on this liquid because in this drought, we could make them go to any corner of the ranch we want them to go to because they're going to they'll go where that syrup is.
Even with the weather challenges, the Bradley 3 Ranch is preparing for its annual bull sale in February, confident in the fundamentals of their animals and the genetics they've developed over the years.
We're in the bull selling business, and we believe very strongly that if we're going to sell bulls, we ought to be using those same bulls ourselves. In that program, we need to make sure they can cover the country. Our pastures are 2-section pastures. Some of them are very steep, rocky, rough, brushy kinds of pastures. Those bulls need to be able to hold up in those conditions. And if we're going to be selling those kinds of bulls, we ought to be making sure that they can do and survive in those same conditions. And so we expect a lot of our bulls.
We've got to develop the genetics that will shine whether we have good conditions or bad conditions. And we have the abilities here on the ranch to verify that in our efficient cows that can convert, and the longevity of our cattle herd that can stay with us for years, and the fertility and the reproduction and the muscling, the conversion, the relative feed intake. These are all factors that make the survival when times are tough much easier.
You know, the deal with Purina is it just helps you on the bottom line. If you can get for the feed intake, if you can move your breed up, that's real money. And I mean, I've been pretty clear with Purina from the beginning. It's about bottom line. Can you make a difference in our bottom line, whether it be saving us fuel, labor, or improve body condition on the cows? That's what it's about, and they've been able to achieve that.
A crisis like a sustained drought can mean lots of sleepless nights for cattlemen and women. But Mary Lou says talking with those in the same situation can help, and talking with her Purina representative has given her some perspective.
They'll come and just sit with you for a little bit and just help you stop for a minute and think and strategize about the nutrition for the cows. And just, you know, sometimes an outsider that can come on the property, help you see the grass for what it is. You want to think it's better than it is. You know, you want to believe that because you know you're in trouble, but sometimes they just come and shoot straight with you, and that's what you need to hear.
We do develop strong relationships, even friendships with these people. And it's been tough this year to see these people going through what they've had to do, the costs that they've had to lay out. And you feel a personal involvement, even though what I go through is nothing like what they're having to go through in this drought. But we become a partner, not just somebody that's on the phone getting the call, how much is feed this week? You know, we're actually trying to, instead of just price feed to them, is we're trying to give them the best bang for their spent dollar to get the most benefit. Because if there's ever a year that we've got to do that the most effective way we can, it's a year like this.
I'm not saying we're not in trouble, but we're sure not in serious trouble. We're going to make it. We'll do okay.
Reporting from Memphis, Texas, I'm Brad Bulla for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
For more information about Purina's Sustained Nutrition products, visit our website at cattlemenandcattlemen.org. Stay with us. Baxter Black is up next.
They're out there, lurking on your pasture, just waiting to infect your cattle as they graze. Cattle worms cost you money, but a Safeguard strategic deworming program allows you to deworm your cattle and lower worm burdens on your pasture, resulting in improved pregnancy rates and heavier calf weights. Plus, there's a Safeguard form for every operation. So start killing parasites where they lurk. Talk to your animal health provider today about a Safeguard strategic dewormer program. Safeguard. Think strategically. Act decisively.
Let's face it, you don't think a lot about your trailer hitch. You use it and forget it. We understand. But at B&W, we think about it. Short nights, long hauls, never-ending chores. The unthinkable. We think about it all, so you don't have to. B&W. Trusted.
70% of consumers want to know where their food comes from, and how can we ignore them? IMI Global offers third-party audited source and age verification essential for export markets and specialty markets like natural, organic, omnivoric, Eskimo, or possibly recovering vegan certified. For quality and age producers to the big boys, any cattleman who wants to expand his market, you're not just buying this green ear tag, you're buying peace of mind. IMIglobal.com. During calving season, a rancher is often forced to go in and get his wife's help in the middle of the night. This is her story. I slept and dreamed of sunny beaches, seashells, sand, and kelp. I've got her in the calving barn. I'm gonna need some help. The waves were crashing over me. The seagulls dived and ducked. She calved all right all by herself, but Junior's never sucked. I woke to find my husband up and looking woebegone. It'll only take a minute. You can leave your nightie on. Next thing I know, I'm in the barn. It smelled like creosote. I'd pulled on his old overshoes and my old chorin coat. If you'll distract the cow, he said, a little bleary-eyed, I'll try and gather up the calf while she's preoccupied. I tried to make a feeble wave. She didn't take the bait. You gotta jump around a bit. Just climb up on the gate. She charged the panel where I stood. I felt the cracking pine. I leaped and grabbed a rafter like old Tarzan would a vine. The overshoes flew off my feet. I wrapped my legs around and hung there like a three-toed sloth, my nightie hanging down. The cow was blowing slobbers on my winter lingerie. It soon became a sodden mass, exposed my expose. I tried to save some dignity, but it was fading fast. I felt like a piñata with a bullseye on my person. I was screaming for my hubby when he finally reappeared. The panel lay in splinters and the cow had disappeared. What took so long? I shouted as I dangled overhead. The tears were streaming down his face. He caught his breath and said I dumped the calf and banged my head and tried to race right back, when a momentary vision up and stopped me in my track. A nursery rhyme about a dish that ran away with a spoon, and there, before my very eyes, the cow jumped over the moon. This is Baxter Black from up there.
Thanks, Baxter. This week's legacy photos are from Funk Farms Trust, our Region 3 winner of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Let's take a look. Send us pictures from your farm or ranch. Just visit our website at cattleman2cattleman.org. Next week on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, tips from the experts on battling internal parasites in your herd. Plus, a look at the USDA-funded program aimed at increasing feed efficiency in your cattle. And the Region 4 winner of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Well, that does it for this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I hope we see you next week right here on RFD TV.